If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you should find the coat of arms of the city of Erfurt, the state capital of Thuringia, strangely familiar. From the year 755 until 1802, the city was in the Diocese of Mainz, and so its coat of arms is the six-spoked wheel. Erfurt lies on the river Gera at the intersection of a number of historic trade routes, and so by the time St Boniface was here in the 8th century, it was already quite a large settlement. Parts of the 11th century city wall remain, most notably here, where it crosses an arm of the Gera with low arches to prevent infiltration. 200 years later, population growth made it necessary to expand the city, and so new, modern defences were built. This outer wall was completely dismantled in the 19th century, but to the south and east of the city the moat was upgraded and now serves as a flood control canal. The oldest surviving secular structure in Erfurt is the Merchants' Bridge. There was a wooden bridge here in the 12th century, but after several fires, a stone bridge was constructed in 1325, lined with trading stalls. 150 years later, these houses were built actually on the bridge, and today this is the last surviving bridge of its kind in Europe. Step inside this shop for a free exhibition, and you can go down a cramped flight of stairs to a cellar built into one of the piers. Until the invention of the refrigerator, this was about the best way to keep food reasonably fresh. The bridge was once secured at each end by a church, offering both divine and physical protection. At the western end, St Benedict's Church was demolished in 1890, but at the other end, St Giles's Church still stands. Between 1615 and 1960, no services were held here. Now it's the oldest church building in the world, used by the Methodist Church. If you're fit and have a head for heights, you can climb the tower for a fantastic view of the city. Erfurt is very much a city of churches, and its most striking and famous vista is this. St Mary's Cathedral on the left and St Severus's Church on the right form a unique ensemble, rising above what was originally a much smaller marketplace, until 1813, when many buildings were destroyed during a siege. For most of its existence, St Mary's was a collegiate church. It was a cathedral only for a short period in the 8th century, and again since 1994. While the cathedral is an obvious tourist magnet, St Severus's next door shouldn't be ignored. It may not look like it from the outside, but it is in fact one of Germany's most important examples of Gothic architecture. These churches both survived the Second World War. One that didn't is the Barefoot Church, so called because it was built by a discalced Franciscan order, discalced meaning they wore no shoes. It was destroyed by a blockbuster bomb on the night of 27th of November 1944, appropriately enough the eve of the day known in the German liturgical calendar as Sunday of the Dead. Luckily, most of the priceless works of art had previously been taken to safety, including these 15th century altar screens, and are now displayed in the only part of the building that remained intact, the choir. As well as churches, Erfurt has had some monasteries, of which 2 still exist. The Ursuline Monastery is one of them. But before we move on to the other, we should take a short detour. This is a modern reconstruction of the Collegium Malus, the main building of a university famous for one of its students, although ironically it was built after he had left. The student in question was Martin Luther, and it was while he was studying here that he had a life-changing experience and became a monk. He came here to the Augustinian Monastery, making this place representative of, according to UNESCO, one of the most important events in the religious and political history of the world. Visitors can see a reconstruction of what is believed to be one of the tiny dark cells Luther lived in. His bed would have looked something like this. Luther became disillusioned with many aspects of the Catholic Church and advocated its reform. Instead, in 1517, the Reformation created a new Protestant church. Unlike Mainz, which remained Catholic, Erfurt was receptive to Luther's ideas, and he returned here often. One of the churches he preached in was the Merchants' Church. Currently, it's undergoing painstaking restoration work. Luther, though, wouldn't have recognised it. Things like this pulpit and this altar screen with its unintentionally hilarious depiction of the Ascension were added several decades after the Reformation. These temporary pews are part of an exhibition on church restoration and will be removed. In the long term, these Renaissance balconies will also be removed, returning the church to something more like the Gothic hall church it was originally, and allowing more natural light in. In 1664, Erfurt lost its independence and was forced to become part of the Electorate of Mainz, ruled by a governor for whom this palace was built. It's now the Thuringian State Chancellery. It was not a popular move and had required the intervention of 15,000 soldiers, so almost the first thing the governor did was to start work on a fortress, the Petersberg Citadel. Originally completed in 1707, over the next century it was extended and improved. It's hard to appreciate the scale of it when you're there, but it was about half a kilometre from north to south, about the size of a small town in those days. There has been an ongoing programme of restoration, but some of the buildings are still unused and derelict. There are plans for a youth hostel and a museum. The governor's nervousness is understandable when you consider that about 70 years previously, this statue was erected at the fish market. Known as the Roman, it depicts an armed warrior ready to defend, with violence if necessary, the political independence of Erfurt from the Elector of Mainz. The fish market also features several patricians' houses with ostentatious Renaissance facades to show off the wealth of its owners and of the city in general. The City Hall, though, is much more recent than it looks. It is a Gothic revival and built in the 1870s. Next to it is the Savings Bank, built in the 1930s in a style called New Objectivity. It includes a series of sculptures on the theme of vices and virtues. The main shopping area is known as the Anger, and it begins at this impressive building, built in Art Nouveau style as a department store, now converted into a modern shopping mall. The central post office was built in the 1880s, and although it has been converted into shopping and office units, there is still a post office here today. From this plaza, the Anger stretches half a kilometre to the southwest, full of buildings from many different periods. Following the Second World War, Erfurt found itself in East Germany. Some traces of this era are still evident. Wide expressways were bulldozed through and prefabricated apartment blocks mushroomed everywhere. Fortunately, city planners understood the historical significance of Erfurt, and so the centre remained relatively unscathed. Restoration was patchy though, and there's still a lot of catching up to do. A small piece of recent history greets those who arrive by train. Directly opposite the central station is the former Erfurter Hof Hotel. In 1970, the West German Chancellor Willy Brandt came here for the first German-German summit meeting. The crowd outside called for him to come to the window, which he obligingly did. This summit marked the first step on the long road to the end of the Cold War. Today, Erfurt boasts the headquarters of Kika, the children's TV channel run by the German public broadcasters. This explains why the city is dotted about with much-loved children's characters, most notably Bernd das Brot, a misanthropic loaf of bread as popular among adults as he is among children. It is also a bustling little university city, and although it has lost much of its industry since reunification, this has been replaced by a booming service industry. For visitors, it is popular enough to know how to cater for tourists, and yet still feels just slightly off the beaten track. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to send me a postcard, here's the address. And don't forget to visit my website and follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Also, if you'd like access to special bonus content and help with the costs of running this channel, please consider making a small monthly donation on Patreon.